Everyone knows that lowering your car makes it look super cool, but one thing many don't consider is the fact that you are ruining your suspension geometry by changing it from the way the manufacturer designed the car to be. The Mazdaspeed 6 happens to be a double wishbone front end car, and what this means is that all the arms in the front end are a different length. This is great because it gives you a dynamic camber because the top arm is much shorter than the lower arm, but what this also means is that the tie rod end, since it's a different distance, when you lower the car, will change the angles and cause the vehicle to have bump steer. Many people don't even understand what bump steer is because they think it's just normal when you lower the car. Maybe it'll be a little darty. That is not how cars are supposed to be. This is essentially what I have installed on my car. This is an SPL bump steer adjustment rod end kit. And I understand that this is stuff that a lot of people may not have ever seen. It's really big in the track world. In the track world, this stuff is top notch. It is supreme quality, supreme strength. Everything about these is just exactly what you want. They have high quality FK rod ends in them. They're all CNC aluminum. They're made well, tight tolerances. The shanks are hardened steel. These will never be an issue. I had these on my first Maxima, and that car unfortunately ended up getting totaled, if you guys don't know the story about it. But what happened is the tie rod end stayed in perfect shape, and the actual knuckle, the steering knuckle, the cast iron steering knuckle snapped, but the tie rod end is still intact. And I actually am still running that same tie rod end on my Z with no issues. I've been running it for about 3 years now, and that car's been beat and abused as well. I've literally never had a problem with SPL stuff. I fully believe in everything they make to the highest quality. This kit here is not for an NC Miata. This is actually for an FRS, but I just have it here for demonstration. The whole reason I actually did this was because of this. These are brand new tie rod ends, and as you see, the boots are already torn just from normal use. They dried out, and they're just not as high quality as I thought they were going to be, especially for a brand new part. This is unacceptable. I'm not going to keep driving on this, and I would like to benefit from the added adjustability. This is just for demonstration, like I was saying. This is how you can change your angle. Basically, you put in different spacers to allow the tie rod ends to sit at a different angle, and they all go together very easily. They're very strong. They're very tight tolerances. They're just great products. I'd recommend them for anybody. So I actually already threw this whole setup together and aligned it, so I'm not actually going to show putting this on. This is a simple, straightforward install. The only thing I will say you have to do, you have to cut a 1/2 inch off the tie rod end and a 1/2 inch off the inner tie rod just to allow for the proper adjustment to actually get your alignment set correctly. When it comes to cutting it down, I really wish I would have filmed it when I actually did it, but Betamax, I'm just going to show you on this spare set here. You're going to want to mark about a 1/2 inch in here, slice a 1/2 inch off this, and just be really careful threading it back in to make sure you don't cross-thread this because these are aluminum. They'll cut really easily. The actual inner tie rods on the car, you'll need to also shorten a 1/2 inch just to allow you to actually adjust the toe properly and get it back within spec. The NC tie rod ends are a little longer in terms of this end to this end, so you won't be able to get the correct torque spec, or not torque spec, the correct alignment if you don't actually shorten both of those ends to allow like an extra inch of adjustment on the tie rods. There is a chance that some other Mazda inner tie rods would work that have the same rack thread and the same tie rod end thread, but just to play it safe, I would cut the stock ones. It's very easy. You just mark a 1/2 inch, cut them off with an angle grinder, leave this nut on when you cut it. That way when you unthread it, it'll pretty much like clean the threads on its way out. Just be careful, make sure you don't strip anything, but it's not a hard thing to do. If you have the ability to understand how a bump steer kit works, you have the ability to cut it and make it the right length. Like, this is not something everyone can just do and get right. You can very easily mess up your car doing this. You need to kind of understand how this works so you can actually get it right. And I'm hoping I can sort of show that in this video for anyone to understand. When it comes to installing this, you'll see this is our stock Mazdaspeed 6 tie rod end. This is our NC tie rod end. If you look at both tapers, you can just eyeball that they're the same. I don't have a micrometer to show you, but I do confirm they fit. I have a buddy with an NC Miata, and I actually took his tie rod ends off and slid them into the knuckle. They literally slid right in and held themselves there without even getting tightened down. So you will see, I'll go ahead and put this shank in just to show you. This is that hardened steel piece. Full trust in these things. Goes right in and just holds itself in there without a problem. You can see there. They actually fit the taper perfectly. They're exactly what you need. So with this, I'm just going to go ahead and show you quickly how to install these, even though they come with instructions. They're going to supply you 2 jam nuts. You're going to thread both of them down onto the shank. You're going to get your second one here, thread this one also down onto there. And then you're simply gonna tighten these together just to give you something to hold on to. Now we have something to hold on to while we torque these. We're simply going to throw that into there and then get our top nut. These nuts do not have a castle nut, but they are a locking style. You'll see the top of the nut is sort of pinched to hold it, and it will lock it. I do paint mark them just to make sure I can easily tell if they come loose, but I've never had a problem with them once. And like I said, I have run these on my Z for approximately 3 years and never had an issue with it, so I'm not worried. I don't know why the focus isn't working right now. There we go. So we're simply going to hold the bottom end just like this, and we're going to tighten down this top nut. It's going to be an 18 mil. Just like that. We'll go ahead and torque that later. But now we will loosen these two and just remove them very simply. And this is where you will need to tune it for your specific setup. Depending on your height, it'll depend on how many spacers you need. Some people, honestly, if you're doing this at a stock ride height just because you want the quality of this piece, I would do no spacers on the top and put it up. But you're gonna have to lower the car down, see where your ride height's at, and determine how many spacers you need. I found for my specific setup, it's better to run the like 5 mil spacer and like a 2.5 mil spacer. That gets the tie rod angle where I want it and eliminates my bump steer. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do, throw those 2 spacers up. Then we're gonna go ahead and throw on our tie rod end. We're just gonna slide it up. It's gonna be difficult because these are brand new and they do take a lot of force to move. There we go. Now the one thing you also want to do, you want to use all the spacers because this will take up all the slack that's in the shank here for the nut to actually properly tighten it down. So we're going to throw that spacer on top and we're going to thread in our lock nut. This piece is also a lock nut. Like I said, I've never had one of these things come loose and I have been running them on my Z since I can remember. I've never had to touch them once. I literally installed them once, never touched them again. They stay tight, they don't stay an issue, they don't get play. And a lot of people will say they have bad experiences with these rod ends because they use cheap ones. These are high quality, self-lubricating, PTFE lined rod ends. I've never had an SPL one develop play on me. I've had cheaper companies develop play within 1 track day. Like I said, never ever had a problem with these. They work well, they stay tight, they stay strong. I fully trust them. Now with this lower nut, we're just gonna go ahead and tighten it up. It's gonna be really hard to tighten your first time because the nylon is gonna be super tight. This one I've already tightened a few times. So just like that, go ahead and tighten it up, and this is gonna be 80 foot-pounds. And just like that, our tie rod ends are simply installed as they need to be. All these are gonna be tight, these aren't gonna come loose. Like I said, I would recommend marking this top with paint. That way you can easily take a look at it and just see if it's come loose, but I highly doubt it will ever come loose if you install them correctly. No need for Loctite, no need for anything. All you need is a proper torque spec and you're good to go. I did also want to show this. It's going to be extremely hard to sort of convey this because well, first off, my big camera won't fit down here, and second off, there's a lot of stuff going on. But you can see back there is our tie rod end, and this is obviously our front lower control arm. This is the car lowering down. I wanted to pause the video right here and show this is exactly what you want. You can see this blue line is an imaginary line from the point of rotation on the subframe and the point of rotation on the actual knuckle itself. Your only goal to eliminate bump steer is to run these 2 lines parallel. As you can see, both of these lines are parallel between the tie rod and the point through the control arms. That way this car will have no bump steer. If your setup looks like that, your car will handle great. One thing I'm not too certain on is actual wheel clearance. This is an 18-inch wheel. You can see not even close to touching in there, but you'll also notice the stock tie rods have a little cutout in them. The stock tie rods have this sort of relief here. This is where the wheel would be. I'm guessing like on a 16-inch wheel, I'm sure these are the same tie rod ends as the base Model 6. On like a 16-inch wheel, this might be needed. On an 18-inch wheel, I'll go ahead and turn the wheel to full lock, and you can see there is quite a bit of space in there from the actual barrel of the wheel touching. This may depend on your wheel setup. I want to say that right now. I'm not going to say this is going to work for every single wheel setup and every single car. This is an 18 by 9.5 plus 38, and it doesn't hit the tie rod end. I'm sure you could even do a plus 40 or a plus 45, and it wouldn't be an issue. I'm sure if you run into the wheel on the spindle, you're going to run into the wheel there, but that is a general rule. It might not work for all wheel sizes, but it does work for an 18. Here we have full lock at ride height. It's going to be really hard to see. There you go, there's a great view of it. Now my car specifically has tow out in the front, so it does still pull depending on road conditions, like cracks in the road or just in general, like which way the road is angled. It drives pretty damn straight though. Like, it's not bad at all. And I'm gonna try and find some bumps and just go straight into them so you guys can actually see. It doesn't yank the steering wheel when you hit a bump, like it would if you just lowered it and didn't correct anything. I mean, there's not really many bumps where I'm at right now, but perfectly straight wheel. Not an issue here. Some pretty big bumps right here. Check this out. Perfectly straight over pretty hard bumps, especially this one's right here. Nothing, no pull at all. I'm not even touching the steering wheel. It's pretty wild the difference the car made. It still does have pretty much zero toe. It's actually very slightly towed out in the front and rear end, but now going over any bumps, the steering wheel doesn't jerk any sort of way. You can fully let go of the wheel. The car will just pull straight. It won't do anything weird over bumps, even on offset ground. It handles so much better now, and I can only attribute that to the SPL tie rod ends that I ended up throwing in. I highly recommend doing them on any car just because the strength of them is unmatched. Even if you're a stock ride height car, the strength of the SPL stuff and just the way they feel and how they work is just nothing else really compares to them. They're always great. They've always been good to me, and they've been good to thousands of other people. They're super strong. They're super reliable. And many people don't like the Heim jointed tie rod ends because they think it makes the car handle weird. The Heim joint is the same thing as a ball joint. Both are solidly mounted. The only thing in a ball joint is it will wear out eventually. Same with the rod ends, but a ball joint will wear out and give it some play. Doing this isn't going to make your car handle any different in terms of like being hard to control or pulling hard over surfaces. If it does, you either have them adjusted wrong or your alignment is off, because the car, like I said, now drives completely normal. It drives amazing, actually. Even with all the polyurethane front end stuff and the spherical tie rod ends, this thing drives so well over all conditions. It's great. Doing these tie rod ends made the car so much more predictable over any surface. You don't have to worry about going over slight bumps and the car kind of trying to pull and act all weird. But I will say before closing out this video, you can very easily ruin the car and make it even worse by doing this. The stock bumps here isn't super noticeable, but if you have lowered your car more than like 2 inches, I do highly suggest doing this. It is somewhat needed if you really want to perfect it and dial it in properly. One thing I will say though is if you're going to do the extra mile and you're going to do this to your vehicle, make sure all your angles are right. Double check them, triple check them, do everything you need to do before aligning it and even after aligning it, just to make sure that you're actually helping out the car and making it handle better instead of ruining the geometry even more. Some designer put hundreds of thousands of dollars, or the company put hundreds of thousands of dollars into getting engineers to design the suspension design, and by adding new things, you are changing it. Whether that's for the better or for the worse, that depends on how you're setting it up and if it is set up correctly. I believe I have set mine up properly. You could see the angles match. You could see in the videos there's no bumps here. The car drives so much better than it ever has. It's super agile still, handles great. It has great turn in, it has great feedback from the front end. It's honestly way better, and the car is like, it's pretty wild how good it is. I really do enjoy driving this, like just as much as I enjoy driving my Z. Completely different experiences, but that car is pretty much a full track car. This car is still a street car, and it just drives so good.